Bernie Sanders goes on the Joe Rogan podcast to spread genocidal Zionist propaganda about Israel's right to defend itself.
Hamas is a terrible terrorist organization. They killed 1,200 people, which in a small country like Israel is a lot of people. Terrible, terrible attack. It's a war crime. Israel had a right, in my view, to defend itself.
Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders has never stated that Palestinians have the right to defend themselves. But notice how Bernie Sanders will never call the IDF out for their terrorism or call Israel a terrorist state. The way that Bernie Sanders talks about Hamas is actually really disgusting for someone who claims he emphasizes with the Palestinian people. Hamas is comprised of mostly Palestinian orphans who lost everything, so they choose to resist their criminal, genocidal occupier. Bernie Sanders claims to emphasize with the Palestinians, but the second that the Palestinians take up resistance against the state of Israel, Bernie wants them dead. What Hamas did on October 7th was a legitimate act of resistance because Israel is occupying Gaza and blocking the creation of a Palestinian state. It is enshrined in international law that a group of people have a right to engage in armed resistance against a criminal occupier that is denying them statehood and robbing their sovereignty. You think Bernie Sanders doesn't know this? Of course he knows this. He's just a bloodthirsty Zionist psychopath who wants to see anyone who resists Israel dead. Supporting the Palestinian people means much more than simply mourning their dead. It means actively supporting their legal right to armed resistance against their genocidal occupier. The New York Times is shocked to discover that there are Jewish people who don't support genocide and willing to support a Muslim who criticizes Israel. In one of the most anti-Semitic articles that you will ever read, the New York Times just discovered that not all Jewish people support murdering babies and they are not inherently loyal to the state of Israel. Zohran Mamdani is a social democrat who ran for mayor for New York simply on the platform of making things more affordable. Meanwhile, Zionists in New York proceed to have a complete meltdown because of their extreme Islamophobia, and they proceed to make the entire race a referendum on Zionism. The Zionists really made the New York race a referendum about Zionism in one of the most diverse cities in the United States at a time where support of Zionism is at an all-time low. Real big brain strategy by the Democratic establishment in New York. After making this race a referendum on Israel, the establishment got blown the fuck out, and now Zionists all over the country is in full-fledged panic mode. We are living in a new era where the American people are waking up and they are tired of Zionists corrupting our politics. Zionists spend billions of dollars supporting the most evil, corrupt politicians in America and corrupting our political process. Meanwhile, they wonder why we are so obsessed over Israel. Zionists spent millions of dollars propping up Andrew Cuomo, who murdered countless American seniors. Meanwhile, the Zionists are confused on why we are getting tired of them.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies.
Mr. Mamdani?
I would stay in New York City.
Our entire politics is fake until the American people can bring the Zionists to heel.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, welcome to another week of RBN Live. We have another banger for you. I want to show you guys this. This is for all the Zionists who wonder why they're this obsession with, why they're so obsessed with Israel, why they're so obsessed with the Jews. Like this is like the logic that Gad Saad and all these Zionist scumbags had. Like, oh my God, there are all these other countries. Why do you guys focus on the crimes of Israel? I feel like there's not enough people who are focusing on Israel, considering what they have done to our politics. Think about it like this. You had a bunch of Zionists that was donating to Andrew Cuomo simply because one of the leading candidates wasn't a sycophant to Israel. Think about what that means. What is AIPAC? We explain this on the show all the time. AIPAC, these are people who take their money and they don't donate it to mutual aid. Are they taking their money and they're using it to clean up our broken neighborhoods? Are they using their money to help feed the one out of 5 children in America who live in poverty? Are they using their money to do anything to help Americans? No, you have these Zionist agents who they take their money and they give it to an organization called AIPAC. They give it to these dark political groups, and then they go and support the most corrupt politicians, the most evil motherfuckers in the world. Like, how are right-wingers not more upset, for example, that Zionists bankroll the entire career of people like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden? Why do you guys think we can't get rid of Jim Clyburn? The most corrupt, evil politicians in the world are propped up by the Zionist regime and their supporters. Meanwhile, they wonder why we are obsessed with them. In my opinion, there hasn't been more anger at these people, which lead to a lot of Zionists realizing that they made lifetime enemies. Like when you see in the UK, like Zionists in the United States was worried about us saying free, free Palestine. Then you see what they're saying in the UK, death to the IDF. And we're going to cover that here very soon. We're living in an age of mass awakening where the crimes of the Zionist regime, which has been hidden, is now fully revealed, and we are witnessing an entire generation fight back against that. But before I get into that, we have an amazing guest to talk about this. We have a friend of the show, intellectual activist, Dr. Charisse Burden-Stelly, also known as Dr. CBS. Thank you for joining us on RBN once again. I appreciate your time, Dr. CBS.
Of course. Thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, it's great having you on. As always, I want to get your thoughts on this, whether I don't know if I'm being too optimistic, but I'm seeing a public backlash against the Zionist regime, the likes I've never seen before. We're seeing like these viral videos like on TikTok and on all these social media, Instagram, or all these Gen Z people. I covered Israel Palestine for a very long time. Now I'm seeing these videos, people talking about the Nakba. Like, hey guys, you know what the Nakba is? And they get like 500,000 likes. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And now you have this story. I want to loop this question in with this story, and you can respond to this as well. This story here is shocking the consciousness of the world. Stuff that we already knew, but the fact that the IDF, they starved the Palestinian people, and now they're shooting and killing, and probably one of the most heinous war crimes recorded in modern history, to starve a population only to shoot and kill them as they are desperately trying to receive aid. So the combination of the stories like these is waking the populace up. So do you see the same thing, Dr. CBS? And how do you think the left wing should try to take advantage of this moment of mass awakening? Once again, thank you for joining us once again, my friend.
Of course. I'm ambivalent about this. I do think in a general sense, like the win is the one win that especially the US left has been able to contribute to is changing the discourse or changing the narrative around Israel and Zionism. That it's sort of been, not only are people having information about what has been going on for decades in occupied Palestine, in Gaza and the West Bank, but there's also sort of pushback to it and people understanding this as apartheid, as colonialism, as ethnic cleansing. And so I do see sort of more consciousness about that. At the same time, I feel like there's also competing discourses where, especially our folks, right? Our people, it's like, that has nothing to do with Black people. Arabs are racist. Arabs are anti-Black. So I'm also hearing that as well. Like I'm also seeing sort of a pushback against that as well. And the other thing too is I think that we often go through these periods of consciousness raising. Is it hard to hear me? Okay, somebody is saying this is buggy. Is it hard to hear? Am I buggy?
It's I can hear you. The audio is a little bit muffled, but I can hear you.
Okay, here, let me just try to take.
Yeah, I know some people say it's a little bit buggy. I can hear you, but the audio is a little bit muffled.
Let me see. Is it better? I don't know. Is that better?
Yeah. I think it's try keep talking. We'll see if we can fix it.
Okay. So yeah.
I got a bit of echo now though.
You got echo now. Okay. I think it's my.
Try to refresh the studio as well. That can help sometimes.
Okay, refresh the studio. All right.
Yeah. I actually do that. I want to talk about the story. Obviously, there's been all these insane work on. I'll bring you back in here. Here you go, Dr. CBS.
Yeah. Okay. So is that better?
Yeah, it sounds much better now. Sometimes you just got to refresh.
Okay, and I took my headphones off. So,
yeah.
Sorry if you can hear my fan. But so what I was saying.
Let us know, Chat. I think it sounds much better now. Let us know, Chat. Yeah, I think they say. Yeah, I think it's much better now. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Dr. CBS.
Perfect. I had on those AirPod Maxes. I don't know if. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that, like, so I think that there is that raising consciousness, but we often have these. So there's a raising consciousness around 2020 with, mostly white folks, white liberals, all of a sudden being conscious that racism is here, right? That, oh, there is racism. Oh, the pigs do murder people with impunity, that type of thing. So we've seen this before, and unless that consciousness is channeled into organizing, not mobilization, but organization, that is how you sustain consciousness. You sustain sort of fight back in a particular analysis of the world through organizing, because the mobilizations come and go. Like, these periods of clarity and illumination come and go. And so to me, I don't know as of yet that I've seen it translate into organizing or to more people joining organizations and that type of thing. And so to me, that is what time will tell. And then the other thing too is part of, a lot of people are pointing out how various like celebrities or famous people are speaking out about Palestine. That cannot be our measure. That's actually a measure of nothing, because the celebrity class is notoriously fickle. Unless they're redistributing resources, I don't give a fuck what they have to say, because I go to my celebrities for entertainment, not for politics.
Yeah.
For their own consciousness and for their own sort of ethics, they should be pro-Palestine. But in terms of what celebrities say as a measure for anything, I'm not convinced by that.
Yeah, that very grounded take, and I've seen the same thing you've seen as well, with these FBA ADOS people who more than happy to do with the bidding of white supremacy, because they always dare to dive head first to divide Black and brown people who have a shared vision and share a goal. And time will tell. Like, we will get the receipts. But I will just say this: they move the way that feds will want them to move. I'm not saying they're feds. I'm just saying that they use all the CIA approved tactics, and I have had enough with these people with ADOS and FBA. I've been very vocal in calling these people out, and you guys see they avoid me. I ratio many of these people because their incoherent ideology hasn't even done anything to get us close to the reparations. They have and I've been asking them. I'm in very good faith. Like, what is your strategy to get reparations? Their strategy to get reparations is to hopefully convince white people to support reparations because they see them attack immigrants. So if the white people see them attack immigrants, then maybe they will support reparations. Like, it's completely incoherent. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Those kind of people make it very depressing to see that these divisive tactics will work. We're like, what do you think? What do you think that is? Do you think that's legit? Because I will admit, like, my instinct to call these people feds is not really fair. But to me, it's just so mind-numbingly dumb. Their position, they spend their time attacking black immigrants, thinking that they're somehow going to get closer to reparation. I don't even understand their political goals. Like, do they plan to vote their way to get reparations? What is the overall strategy? Do you have any thoughts, Dr. CBS, about this phenomenon? I don't get it.
So are you talking about like the Black American like jingoism, or
like the black people like, oh, Palestine not our business, or all the Arab people, they hate us anyway. Even though the people I met in the Free Palestine movement, they tend to be the strongest supporters of reparations and any movement for liberation. I was asking, do you want to speak more on this divide that kind of hold you back in terms of, because I see it too, but I don't understand. I don't know how legit it is. That's what I don't want to call. I do gotta be careful because I don't want to call them feds. That's not really fair. I'm just not seeing it other than this fake online activist space that is meant to create division. Does that make sense? We can also move on.
Yeah,
I've been begging to debate these people. I've been calling these people out. I think they just fucking ignore me now at this point. But it's very frustrating because it's kind of what you meant, right, regarding these people who try to divide the issue, right? Am I getting that correct, Dr. CBS?
Well, so it's interesting. Like, the ADOS stuff reminds me of some discourse that was happening around Black studies, like in the 1990s. So my PhD is in Black studies, and so there's even a book called "Dude, Where's My Black Studies?" And basically, there was a particular critique. So Nola Brooks also talks about this book and this phenomenon in White Money Black Power, where there was a pushback by African Americans, and I use that term as an ethnic category, not because I'm American, but so African Americans were critiquing the fact that Black studies, which is a field that came into academia through social movement, right, connected with third worldism and the anti-war movement, et cetera, et cetera. But by the 90s, many of the people who were being hired into Black studies were African, like continental African and Caribbean folks. And the people, so Black Americans, right, who have been at the center of the struggle for Black studies, we're not seeing sort of material results, either with students who were being African American students in particular, being enrolled into higher ed and higher numbers, the faculty, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is a sort of old debate, this sort of antagonism or tension between like African Americans and other Black immigrant groups is a long-standing thing that even goes back to like Garvey and the ABB and all kinds of critiques of Garvey, like, people who are critical of Garvey were like, it's mostly these fucking West Indian peasants, basically, right? So this is a long thing. And so if it is that it's grounded in a material experience of African Americans, I can get behind it. But to your point, or I don't have those views, but I can have sympathy for it because I have sympathy for Black people, right? I don't root for everybody, sure. but I have to understand, where does this come from? But to your point, there's always this sort of government propaganda aspect. So things being implanted, certain discourses being funded, the algorithm propping up particular ideas, but maybe it's like 10 people who think this, but it's made to seem as if it's circulating more. And so I don't think it helps anybody, right? I don't think that as a Pan-Africanist, right, I do not think that any allegiance to the U.S. settler colony or the U.S. empire is beneficial to Black people. Yeah. But I do think that understanding the sort of these different resurgences of different types of conservatism is important. And there is an endogenous like anti-immigrant strain within Black political thought. So Booker T. Washington, if you read like his whole argument about Black people casting their buckets was like, y'all hiring these white immigrants, forget them. Hire us Negroes. You know us. We raised your kids. We cleaned your homes. Like, this is exactly what he's saying. And so there is a way that there is a sort of endogenous strain of that comes from like the Black community trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, basically. And so that is my errant assessment of that.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I 100%, like you said, emphasize with wanting the absolute best for African Americans or descendants of slavery. You know what I mean? The only critique I have of them is I don't understand the strategy, and that's when they have a hard time coming back at me because I will see them. They will attack these black migrants and claim they don't care about the African American community. They can't claim I don't care about my black people.
Right.
Like no one can claim they want reparations more than I do. So they can't play that card on me. So my whole thing is like, hey man, I feel you, brother. But what you're doing is setting us back. So as someone who wants success, seeing us and seeing this giant boogeyman who wronged us all, this giant cloud of white supremacy, imperialism, and capitalism. To me, I believe that success is the best revenge. You know what I mean? Instead of playing oppression Olympics, which I see a lot of these people do. Oh, who had it worse? We had it worse. Don't you know we were descendants of slaves? Don't you know we were genocide? Instead of doing this, how about we just have success? How about we take out the common enemy we have and then dance on the grave of white supremacy? Then after that, maybe we can complain who had it the worst. But to me, I just want to see mass success. And that's where my criticism at the end of the day lie. A lot of people may get mad at me, but my criticism of them lie because I want to see our people do better. And having them, I mean, go ahead.
Let me ask you this then. Does the Black left have a strategy? A coherent strategy, an effective strategy, a consistent strategy?
It depends what you mean by left. Yeah.
The answer, yeah. So we don't even know what the fuck the left is. At least we can specifically define what FBA and ADOS is, right? So, and again, I'm not defending them, but I'm saying like,
no, yes, I hear you.
We have critiques, but like as a sort of black radical revolutionary, I can't have my ass on my shoulders because like we're not winning. We're not winning, right? We can't even stop a war-intensified genocide. Right. We don't. And so I think that we do need to be critical and we do need to lift up these contradictions in our community, but we have to do so with the utmost humility, with the utmost care, because we're not consistent with our strategy. Like when it comes to like, what is it? Dual power. We've not successfully built dual power, right? We've not successfully made co-op or cooperative living inevitable or desirable for our people. Like we've not, you know what I'm saying? We've not been able to stop police brutality. So what I'm saying is having a coherent strategy is difficult, whatever the ideology is in this country. And so, and it's even more difficult for, I think, the FBA folks because of the inherent contradiction of what they're arguing. It's like, you're trying to argue out reparations on your Americanness, but it's like, you're never going to be that. Yeah. Right. You're never going to be that. Like, as my dad used to say, dress a nigga as you will, a nigga's a nigga still. And so draping yourself in the American flag is not going to help you. But I do want to lift up the way that we beat ADOS, the way that we beat FBA is to have a viable strategy.
I agree with you.
And until we have that, then we can just, criticize one and shit in the other and see which one fills up first.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. This is why I focus more on strategy more than anything else. Like we all agree with each other. I was on some right wing podcast, and he would agree with me about healthcare, about ending police brutality. But what the left ignored for a very long time is strategy. You're 100% right. That's something that we had to nail down more than anything else because it's easy. To me, it's easy to critique the Zionist regime in the clause of imperialism, but how are we going to get rid of it? Yeah. It's easy to critique the scourge of income inequality, the racial income inequality, civil asset forfeiture. So trust me, I 100% agree. And that's why I bring those questions up, because a lot of people don't even have the conversations of what the strategy we're going to use. And I'm not saying I have the answer either. I think we should be having these massive brainstorming sessions with people in the community actually care for how we got best address our material issues. I see 3 super chats came in. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to read those real quick. And then we'll get back on schedule. I just like bouncing ideas off of guests like Dr. CBS. So let me read a few super chats here when we get back on topic. We're going to cover the death to the IDF chants. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't, that's okay. I'm going to show you guys this artist I'm learning about. You guys, I'm horrible with celebrities. We talk about celebrities. I'm like very bad with modern music. I'm still stuck in the late 90s. I'm still stuck in the early 2000s. I'm like that old head. Like, man, these fucking young kids and their rap music. I'm an old head, guys. So a lot of these new music artists, I don't know. I'm learning who this dude is. What's his name? Bob Dylan? I don't know. But we gotta learn about him today because he's in a lot of trouble. But let me read the super chats real quick. Thank you for $10. The Citizen 49. The 500-year-old white empire is dying and a new world is struggling to be born. Very well said. Thank you for $10. The Citizen. We're gonna show you guys the insane free speech crackdown, the same authoritarianism, the same totalitarianism they accuse other countries of doing. They accuse China and Russia, Soviet Union of being. We're seeing it in the West because they're losing the narrative, the likes we've never seen before, which is the theme of our next segment. Like there's the whole death to the IDF chants. This is representative of them losing the narrative and losing the will of the people, the likes we've never seen before. So they preach democracy, they preach liberalism and freedom of thought, but that's when things go in their way. Like if you're openly agreeing with the establishment, they okay with that freedom of thought. But you guys gonna see what happens when your freedom of thought questions their imperial power. Here's another super chat, Dr. CBS. I promise. That's a preview of what's coming up. We're gonna cover here soon. I promise I'm going to finish Red Scare this year. You want to plug that? Thankful for your genius. Any other works inspiring, moving you at the presence? This is a great super chat because this super chat is a great segue. You want what Black Scare, Red Scare? Do you want to promote that? Shout that out for people who don't know.
It's the book that I wrote. It's basically about the code constitution. Now, the way that, let me not use my big words, the way that anti-radicalism, so the attack on radical people, anti-capitalist broadly conceived, and the attack on Black people, the historical sort of debasement, subjection, oppression of Black people, that these two phenomenon they reinforce each other. And so I focus specifically on anti-communism as like a way, as a form of anti-radicalism that like overdetermines all of the others. So that's why somebody will call, somebody like Bernie Sanders, who is clearly a liberal, right, with social democrat characteristics, is called a communist because anti-communism, because the main form of anti-radicalism. But that's the book. So, it is on LibGen. You could buy it or you could find it floating around on the internet.
Very base. Make sure you guys check that out. And great super chat. Great way for us to segue that in. I appreciate your ears like fever. Thanks for the super chat. Black Force reparations, Black Force to vote. Well said. I appreciate the early super chats, guys. I'm gonna get back to this while I was covering. I'm gonna quickly present this, so I'm gonna get re-caught up, and I want to share this in the context of this major news article because once you know what the IDF has been accused of, once you know who these people are, the outrage that's shown to this artist for getting people to chant death to the IDF will sound so infantile. Like, the Zionists, they are confused that we don't like their Jewish military death squads. Are they really upset that we're not a fan of their death squads? Is that where they complain at? Because this is the story that just came out. I'm going to read the whole story here. It's a killing field. IDF soldiers ordered to shoot deliberately at unarmed Gazans. I hate that fucking term. Waiting for humanitarian aid. I don't know. Maybe I was just being too picky, but I told you guys I hate that term Gazans. Why are you afraid to call them Palestinian? Once again, that's something that I hate that word so much. I probably would have been cool with it before the genocide, but I think post-genocide, we should retire that term Gazans. That's just me. But here's some more details on this, just for people who haven't been in the know. And I'm showing this for a reason. Because to me, I don't think there's anything morally wrong to saying death to Nazis, right? I understand that their strategy. What should we or should we not say? But morally speaking, there's literally nothing fucking wrong with chanting death to the Nazis. But anyway, I'm getting too ahead of myself. This is the reason why. Just showing you guys one reason out of countless reasons why people will be shouting death to the IDF. Gaza's government media office says at least 549 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces while trying to access humanitarian supplies. I have no words for the level of barbarity this is. So with that said, since I can't really put it in words without cussing and screaming, getting us demonetized, I'm going to let concert goers in the UK describe how we should feel about these monsters. And am I saying that right? His name, Bob Dylan. I literally don't know that much about modern artists. I'm really I'm a boomer, as I really am. So this is the clip that got everyone. Can you imagine seeing your enemies having such a catchy slogan? The same thing with the river to the sea. They're mad because they know this shit would easily catch on, bro. That shit is a banger. That is a banger. That is a banger. But because of that, dude, Zionists are freaking the fuck out. Bob Dylan draws widespread condemnation over death to the IDF chant. You even have the United States. This is the guy who was crying to Congress about how he doesn't feel safe. Look at this. Bob Dylan's U.S. visa has been officially revoked by the State Department. So, Dr. CBS, I don't know if you've seen this before, but you've seen it now. What's your reaction to this? Like right now, this dude, the Zionists are trying to ruin his life. His children has been doxxed. Mm-hmm. He's getting massive death threats by IDF, bro. This is wild. Any reaction to this?
I mean, that's par for the course. It's probably going to get worse with respect to the censorship. We already have, so there's already was a bill or is a bill in Congress that makes it illegal to like show the faces of police officers or of ICE agents. You know, there's different state level legislation that makes it illegal to verbally assault a police officer. And so these are, I think that this form of legislation or in these different, whatever, all of this different policy that's meant to defend police and military on the one, to defend them, but to also to stifle our ability to resist. That's par for the course. And so I think that we have to be really strategic about, number one, we have to be organized so that when these attacks come, we're able to kind of defend people and we have a strategy for what to do. Number two is like, we have to be strategic about the things that we say. And this is not, I'm not saying that we should not speak out. I'm not saying that it is not justified, but what I am saying is that that's another front on which we'll have to fight. If it is that, we're gonna this is the way that we are choosing to sort of express our critique. So, again, I think that it's a sign of the times that more and more people, because Kaylani been on that, like people been on, and maybe not saying death to IDF, but been on Free Palestine for the past few years. And I think on the one hand, it represents like consciousness that's raised. On the other hand, I also think that the backlash just has to be part of the calculation, right? It seems to me sometimes that people are very caught off guard at this response, but it's like, what do you have to, again, as I say all the time, you have to believe your own analysis. So if we say that these are beasts, if we say that these are savages, that these are barbarians, that these are dehumanized, violent people, they being Zionist imperialists, including US folks, then we have to believe that, of course, this is going to be the response. And so we have to take all of these things, I think, into account as we engage in all types of different strategies. And I'm being sort of careful or whatever with my language. But yes. So I think that's my perspective.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you. And you guys see, I'm showing some receipts in the backlash here. Like, he even dropped from his United Talent Agency. Let's go back to us believing our analysis, right? Like, and I learned very recently that an anti-Semite is someone who is onto them. An anti-Semite is someone who is onto them. Right. Whenever you bring up something that is undeniably true about our system of this Zionist regime, they call you anti-Semite. You bring up something that's undeniably true, like Zionist Jewish people and people who are Zionists, they control Hollywood. So what was very clever for them to do, they take shit that was true, and they're like, if you say this, you're an anti-Semite. It's a great strategy, isn't it? Because I explained before, I had a viral tweet where I explained how an anti-Semite used to be someone who hated Semitic people, who hated Jewish people. That is not the modern definition of anti-Semitism now.
Right.
The modern definition of anti-Semitism is people who do not serve the Zionist regime, the people who don't worship the Zionist Jewish people, the people who don't go along with this. If you don't go along with this, then you're anti-Semite, then you'll be dropped from your United Talent Agency. There's a reason why if RBN doesn't work out, I'm screwed, fam. Like when I used to sell cars, like you can see my face, my profile. I was on the Toyota website. I was on the biggest. I worked for one of the biggest car dealers in the region. I had a suit up picture. Like if you Google my name, you will find my job. You understand? There is no way I would be able to do what I'm doing right now with calling out Zionism while selling cars. You know how many times these motherfuckers wanted to call my manager? Like they realized I had no boss. So I'm in this unique position where I can speak out against these people, but I am unhireable. Like it's RBN or bust for me at this point, guys. I am completely, my real name is out there. I'm completely unhireable. And this is the tactic used by the Zionist mob. This is what I call capitalist authoritarianism in action. The way they weaponize capital. There's countless friends like that we had on the show, like Dr. Sabrina, for example, a friend of our network. Dr. Sabrina fired for a job because she's had the audacity to speak out against the Zionist regime. That's what we were seeing in with this situation here. I know it's not new to us, but this guy is an artist. I'm sure he will be fine. I'm sure he will have people rally behind him. Yeah, but what happens if you're a school teacher and this happens to you? There's an account called Stop Anti-Semitism that literally targets like young black women going to school. Like it's a trend where they target black women. I'm sure you've seen this account. They target young minorities often who can't defend themselves, ruin their lives. Not everyone is Bob Villain or whatever, this dude who can fucking bounce back. This is a scourge of our society that should fire people up. But before I continue, was there anything else you want to add to the story, Dr. CBS, before I continue?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that this is what we should expect
for sure
moving forward, and so factor whatever you're engaging in, whether it's a protest, whether it's speaking out in this way, whether it's different sort of culture work that has a critique of Zionism, the IDF, Israel, what have you, calculate the backlash into what it is that any of your strategy, and have a strategy for that, because it's going to get worse before it gets better. Somebody had the Gramsci quote, right? The old is dying, the new is struggling to be born. The rest of that is like, now is the time of monsters.
Yeah.
Right. And the time of monsters, that is intense repression, right? That is sort of extraordinary violence with impunity. And so that I just think that that's something that we need to be mindful of.
Very well said. I'm gonna wrap the segment up. I have a few more things I want to share with you guys. The obvious critiques to this, because the outrage, like the BBC is covering this wall to wall. They put out apologies. We're sorry we streamed this terrorist supporting anti-Semitic rapper. Like the Trump State Department is immediately on it. You guys see how fast our government moves with the issue that they care about. Like we're like, man, can we have modern infrastructure? Man, that's a lot of government work. I don't know if the government can actually do that, man. We're not really efficient government. But the second they have someone call out the IDF, you see how efficient our government moves. I just thought that's a funny joke that I saw someone post. But it's true. The State Department is going after him. But what he did, and he's gonna be sacrificed. Like I'm terrified for this guy. I don't know that much about him, but best believe this man's career, as we know it, is over. Like if he may be sustained by, like, I don't know, Patreon, maybe some fans might try to boost him up. But he had a tour in the United States. His tour is done. He dropped from his labor, so this guy is done. I really hope he has a strong grassroots support, because as a professional mainstream celebrity, that shit is never gonna happen now. Like there's a reason why you see Beyonce shaking her ass to the American flag. Like she know where not to fly. She's not gonna fly too close to the damn sun. This guy, he's based enough not to make those calculations. I'm very sorry to see where his career is gonna be up, because they want him dead. But what he did is pretty valuable because this story has went viral. Even though the West has been melting down at it, around the world it's been received pretty well. I'm gonna share this one here soon. This is one I wanted to share. This is in Argentina, fam. Like, if y'all know anything about Argentina, Argentina is easily the least based South American state. Let me just say that. But even in Argentina, they don't fuck with Zionism like that. Their ruling party does, the ruling class does, but the ordinary people, just like everyone else, they don't fuck with it. So after the death to the IDF chant, this thing is going viral all around the world, fam. Like, this is a genie in a bottle that they cannot put back in. And this is to get more optimistic about the story. Like, this is the awakening that I'm glad seeing happen. The fact that this, I gotta be careful with my words here. Like, this, people understand what the IDF is about now, and people are not apologizing seeing them fail, just for the lack of a better way to put it. So now you got people in Argentina. Let me big screen it here. They put Israel in a coffin. I think what they said. I'm gonna mute it here because I don't want to get in trouble for like music. But you guys see, there's the Israeli coffin, Palestine flags. Once again, this is in Argentina. Like, I guess maybe I should be nicer to the Argentines because I guess they're not their fault they got fascist government. But look, this is them saying death to the IDF. So you're seeing this anti-Zionism spread worldwide, which already was mainstream. One more thing I want to share on the story, and we move on, is the obvious reason. I did this last because we know why it's bullshit. We know why it's fucking they're hypocrites, right? We know, like the Zion, oh my God, I can't believe they're chanting violence against all Jews, all Jews. I feel like it's almost beneath us to even to try to counter their bullshit arguments. So I'm gonna do one, and I'm gonna keep it simple. So for all the people bitching and complaining about people saying death to Nazis, death to the IDF, death to their paramilitary death troopers, you have Israelis that say death to Arabs all the time, and it is never ever covered by the mainstream media. So it's not really in English. I'm gonna just let it play for a little bit. Look, Jesus fucking Christ, a good Arab is a dead Arab. I'm gonna let the video play and let it speak for itself. For all the Zionist babies, like CNN is covering this, New York Times is writing op-eds. When have you ever seen our Western media cover this? Cover the extreme barbaric behavior of the modern Israeli settler. People underestimate the fact that these people was brainwashed from a time as a small child to hate Arabs, want death on Arabs, and to believe that anyone who is not Jewish deserves to either serve them or die. So, Dr. CBS, I give you final word. I just want to present the last receipts here. I give you final thoughts on this segment as a whole. Do you have any final thoughts you want to send us on? And then we'll move on. I'll pivot to our last story.
Yeah, I'll just say that, like I said, we need to believe our own analysis. A lot of people have critiques of liberalism, but what we also understand is that this idea of all of these freedoms, the freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, these are all codified through like liberal jurisprudence, which means they can be taken away. These are not rights. They're codified as rights, but they're especially when it comes to Black people. I talk about reversibility, like all of this shit is reversible. But again, you have to understand if liberalism is amenable to fascism, but you're relying on like liberal jurisprudence to ostensibly protect yourself or protect your rights. That's a contradiction.
That's
and
so
again,
well said. That is
people
very
should
well
be
said.
able to say whatever they want to say. I do believe that. But should and what the reality is are two different things. And so we have to be courageous, and we also have to understand the current conjuncture and what's at stake with whatever strategy it is that we take. And this is not about being a coward. It's not about it's not about capitulating. It really is about strategy. It really is about being deeply serious about every single thing that we do against imperialism, because the state is against us, right? The state has a monopoly on violence. Like, this is a right-wing settler colony, and Great Britain is not that great, but it's also not, right? It's basically, it's a vassal state currently of the United States. So the same thing goes. I really want us to take that seriously, right? We see in every industry, people losing their jobs, people being, people having their work situations being made untenable, being made, people being dehumanized for their political beliefs. And I think that that's not nothing, right? And that's something that we need to have calculations for as we're engaging in all of these different strategies, from protesting and organizing to making public statements. So
very well said. I'm gonna get to our last topic. I want to get your thoughts on Zohran Mamdani, because Zohran Mamdani has taken this country by storm, because the Democrats made the very big brain decision to make the New York mayoral race a referendum on Zionism in an age where Zionism is more unpopular than ever. In the most diverse city, one of the most diverse cities in the world, they decided to make this race a referendum on Zionism. And you have this Democratic socialist, Zohran Mamdani. What is it?
The president of the United States has had to say, he's had a lot to say about your campaign. He called you a communist. Because he's the president, I want to give you a chance to respond directly to him. How do you?
Sorry, I went over. Let me refresh that. I'm gonna play this clip here, and I want to get your thoughts on Zohran Mamdani. And we talk about this on our roundtable with Dr. Zinkis, who's super into Mamdani. Savvy Sav is supposed to have a panel with a lot of his supporters. She invited me on. I guess I'll talk to him. You gotta know my position. I'm not that invested in electoral politics, but I'm not gonna get mad at people. I think it's our job to convince people that electoral politics is a dead end. There's a lot of people who are desperate, and I actually rather show grace to these people, because there are a lot of people in New York who are desperate, who want to lower the cost of goods. You know what I mean? The people who simply want to have cheaper rent, cheaper food. So should we get mad at these people because they vote for getting cheaper food prices? My whole thing is, I think this guy is clearly the next AOC. He gives me bad vibes, man. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys, I'm like, oh, this dude's up. No, there's I can write an essay. I can do a 1 hour live stream on why this guy gives me bad vibes. But I think right now in this time, we need to try to persuade the people who are still falling for these tranquilizing drugs. But anyway, that's kind of my thoughts. I've been thinking about this a lot over the last few days. But Dr. CBS, before I get this clip, maybe I should ask you first. I'm sorry. But Dr. CBS, what are your thoughts on everyone, like Zohran Mamdani, a lot of people becoming very invested in his rise? A lot of people in the Free Palestine movement is very invested in them. I would love to hear raw, honest thoughts on what do you see his potential? What do you think of people supporting him? Do you think the left should be enthusiastic about Zohran Mamdani?
I mean, so I don't just, this is apropos of nothing, but he is the son of Mahmoud Mamdani, who I love. So he wrote the book Citizen and Subject. So he wrote a lot about like the Darfur back in, the first Darfur conflict prior to this current crisis in Sudan. But anyway, so Mahmoud Mamdani, he's a good academic. But anyway,
really.
Now in terms of Zohran, I don't think the left should be excited, but I think that the left again should analyze what possibilities might open up, what demands can be made based on his mayoral, yes, if he wins. I think this can be used as a teaching moment to distinguish between democratic socialism, social democracy, and socialism proper. I think just as human beings, it makes sense for people to be excited about somebody who is potentially going to stop the bleeding, right? Who is going to make life marginally more livable, right? I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But I had a tweet the other day where I said, what we have to understand about Zohran, he is not a socialist. He is not a revolutionary. He is a democratic socialist politician. Democratic socialists are basically Keynesians. They basically argue for a strong welfare state, which compared to what we have currently, I can see how that can be appealing. But we also have to understand the ways that these social democrats, from Bernie to AOC, the quote unquote squad, all these folks, how they are, they serve a mollifying function because they become the symbol of what type of radicalism is possible, right? This is not the radicalism. For those of us who identify as radicals or revolutionaries, whatever, that is not radicalism, right? That is a way to sort of reproduce the system on slightly better terms, perhaps. The other thing too is that he's going to have a super rough go of it. So even if he has all of these things he's dedicated to, the Trump administration, right, is not going to make that easy because they already have beef with New York for a number of reasons, from the indictments, all that. And so we have to understand the extraordinary duress under which he will be operating. And a similar parallel, it's completely different, but what we might think about is Antar and Jackson. What's his name? Antar, the mayor of Jackson, who just got indicted. Who got indicted by the
I'm blank on his name. I'm bad with names too.
Antar, the son of somebody said in the chat. Antar. So he's the
mayor.
Chad,
help us out. Chad always helps.
He's the mayor of Jackson, who was supposed to make all of these sweeping changes, but given Mississippi as a state, but also. Yeah, on top, is it Lumumba? Yeah. Oh, yes, it is Lumumba because Big Chokeways is that. So, anyways, what I'm saying is that he also is going to have. So he's ultimately going to disappoint people anyway because I don't think he's going to be able to accomplish a fraction of what he promises. And so that's another thing too. It's also a way to make for people to become more disillusioned ultimately with anything that claims to be socialist. So those are some of my preliminary thoughts. I don't live in New York. I don't have a dog in the fight.
I hear you.
I'm not gonna shit on people who want a better sort of way of being in the world, who feel like this will provide a different, at least a less policed, right? Yeah. A less a less draconian existence. But we as leftists need to be clear. He is not a revolutionary and he is not a socialist. And we too often are completely unclear about that, right? As leftists, or we try to shoehorn them into a broader radicalism than even they have articulated for themselves. So,
this guy is not Jim Crow Joe. You know what I mean? He's not a genocide supporter. That's why I can't bring any energy to get angry at anyone's support. You know what I mean? I had unapologetic anger, and I still do, for genocide Joe Biden supporters. Like people who vote for members of Congress. And trust me, if Zohran was running for Congress, you guys, I would light this motherfucker up. Because Ask this motherfucker about Ukraine. I promise you, this motherfucker will say some sideways shit about some Ukraine. He's a social democrat. He support Bernie. I know he got some fucking cringe ass opinions on Ukraine, but he's a mayor. Like, let's be clear. Like, he's not in control of foreign policy. That's why I've been lighter on him than a lot of people expected I would be. Because at the end of the day, he's just a fucking mayor, guys. It's not like he's a member of Congress voting on foreign policy. That's why I'm not as mad at people. Because I like this. You know, like, if you vote for Kamala Harris, do you vote for a war criminal? That's like it's different. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just hope on my end. But with that said, with what I said, I'm not gonna get upset with people. Now I'm gonna tell you guys how I feel. This guy irks me. He has this toxic positivity to him. We talk about this all the time. You know, the toxic positivity, this fake smile bullshit. Because Shama Sawan does a good job breaking this down as well. We are not in a time of this fake smile, toxic positivity bullshit. And just like you said, by pretending to be a socialist, and once he inevitably failed to change life for people in New York, who's going to take the blame for it now? People are going to connect the failures of New York and tie it to socialism now, because he knows that marketing himself as a socialist is popular when he is not a socialist. And look how quickly, I'm going to show you guys this video, how quickly he says he's not a communist. He says he's a democratic socialist. The fuck you talking about? I'm tired of this fake ass ideology. Ask a democratic socialist why they're not a communist, and watch them morph into Henry Kissinger in lifetime. I'm going to say that again. Ask the democratic socialists why they're not a communist, and watch them turn into Henry Kissinger right in front of your face.
Well, the whole premise of democratic socialism obviously is rooted on the idea that socialism is not objectively democratic. But if we know anything about socialism, it is fucking economic and political democracy. That is literally, that's constitutively what socialism is. And so somebody to call themselves a democratic socialist is already inherent in this sort of authoritarian, totalitarian logic about socialism. So like that, I think so. Like,
so Dr. CBS, I want to play this clip, and I want you to respond to this clip. I'll let you respond to it first, because I saw this clip and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. But I'm like, man, I know not everyone as nerdy in the weeds as I am, so I got to be careful how I present this kind of stuff. But I see this clip here, and it makes my fucking skin crawl. And I'm going to play, and I'll let you respond first.
The President of the United States has he's had a lot to say about your campaign. He called you a communist. Because he's the president, I want to give you a chance to respond directly to him. How do you respond? Are you a communist?
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound, where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed. And when we talk about my politics, you know, I call myself a democratic socialist in many ways inspired by the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And as income inequality has declined nationwide, it has increased in New York City. And ultimately, what we need is a city where every single person can thrive.
All right. Stay right there. We are going to take a quick break.
I'll let you respond to that first, but any reactions to that?
I wish motherfuckers would let Dr. King rest. That nigga never gets a break. I didn't mean to call Dr. King bad. I didn't need to get colloquial, but Dr. King can never rest. Everybody's constantly pimping my man. You know, leave the man alone. Please, literally anybody else. Fred Shuttlesworth, Jesse Jackson. I don't know who are some of these other civil rights people, like Jackal. Please mention anybody else. But I am so tired. Let him rest in peace, please. Let my man King rest in peace. Like so that is my outrage. But I mean, of course, this is just par for the course, right? Of course, the first thing that he has to say is, I am not a communist. Of course, he has to say that, right? I am not a communist. He'll come out calling himself not a Marxist at some point, right? And so it's very on par for him to not only distance himself from communism, but then hearken on the most misunderstood and misrepresented like figure, i.e. Dr. King, who cares about things like social justice, but also, also had his own sort of anti-communism but because of his actual lived experience of having communist advisors, socialist advisors, I don't know who Mamdani is surrounded by, but that is something that will make him distinct. I mean, there's many things that will make him distinct from King, but King actually did have communist and socialist advisors, right? Formally and informally. And so, do with that what you will. But to his credit, most people in the United States are not socialists or communists. They're not. And so that messaging is not going to resonate with them anyway. But again, on the left, we need to be clear. We need to be clear about what socialism is, about what democratic socialists, the function that they serve. That is for us to be clear about and for us to move accordingly.
So I know I'm an asshole, guys, but I am advocating for an intellectual working class. I am advocating for us to reject anti-intellectualism. And what the professional managerial class is doing to socialism, it's killing me, man. We already seen, I said it years ago, that Bernie Sanders, AOC, what they're doing is effectively shifting what it means to be a socialist to the right. By having green parties in Europe who call themselves socialists, support NATO, they're redefining what the position of a socialist is. And I recognized this motherfucker. You know, the funny thing is, I did not plan this. I actually did a segment on this guy, and I'm just now realizing that this is the same guy. Do you guys remember this video? I'm just now remember this. This is the same dumbass, Zohran Mamdani. And remember, I already gave my caveat about his supporters, guys. So I cannot believe this is the same motherfucker I just roasted a few weeks ago who just won. This is the guy who don't know what socialism is. This is his definition of a socialism.
Come on. Socialism.
That's a scary word.
Socialism?
Yeah. So you're a socialist? What does that mean?
Democratic socialist, baby.
What does that mean?
First of all, I'm a member of New York City DSA. That interests you, socialist.nyc/join. Second of all, I define it using the words of others of extending democracy from the ballot box to people's lives.
Extending the ballot? Socialism is not when you just vote, sir. The fuck is this? Oh, sorry. Let's be fair. Let's hear his whole answer. I won't cut it off.
/join. Second of all, I define it using the words of others of extending democracy from the ballot box to people's lives.
What?
Making sure that everybody has what they need to live a dignified life. And that may also now include Fearney Donuts.
Okay. So we're putting Ali to work. He is making these for every New Yorker.
That's
okay.
Are you committed?
Yeah.
So he's a Hassan Piker leftist. Do you guys feel comfortable now? Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm gonna say I don't live, like you said earlier, I don't live in New York. I understand, and I'm trying to be. I'm talking out both sides of my mouth here because I'm not mad at his supporters, man. Because I get it. You in New York, this guy said he's gonna make the cost of living cheaper. I get it, man. I'm not fucking mad at you, but you got to see why this guy irritates me and why this is the kind of guy who is the quickest to sell out. The kind of person who don't have a true grasp on the ideology of socialism. Aren't they the people who are most likely to sell out because you don't even know what the fuck you're fighting for? You think socialism when people have access to the ballot box? Anyway, we're about hour. I don't want to keep it that much longer. Do you have any more final thoughts on Zohran Mamdani? Or we can end on more of a positive thought. Like, what do you think will be the advice you would give to people in New York who are desperate? Like I said, who do you think? What do you think the path for the left should be? Speaking more strategy. Any final thoughts you have in general, Dr. CBS? Because once again, we're about an hour. We can do this all day if we want to. It's always great to have you on RBN. But any final thoughts you want to add to this?
I mean, I think that social democracy is the best that we can do in this current system, period. It would be, because it's sort of a contradiction, right? Even if we had a fully communist, name it, mayor, governor, what would that actually do in the context of a settler, colonial, imperialist country.
That's a strong point.
And so the contradiction is, on the one hand, we want like real socialist or communist candidates, theoretically, right? This is the reason why different communist parties have run candidates. But on the other hand, how does that translate into that changing the fundamental structure of this society?
That's
and also not just the society, internationally, because it's the international proletariat, right?
Absolutely.
So I think so to me, I think that folks need to support the democratic socialists, fine, whatever. But number one, we can't reduce the political politics, right, to electoralism. So what are you doing in conjunction with voting for, promoting, whatever, this person? And also, please stop turning these fucking politicians into celebrities.
Yeah.
I don't care about his personality. I don't care if he walks down the street and talks to regular people or talks to influencers. It doesn't matter. Like, we turn anybody with power or influence into we turn it into like a celebrity culture where it becomes about like their personality, their personal life, whatever, and not about the politics and not about sort of what strategy can be cultivated or honed based on whatever opening he might provide. But sorry guys, I'm so sorry that I highly doubt he's going to be able to reduce the cost of living in New York because the cost of living is related to so many things, right? The supply chain, this fucking back and forth with tariffs, owners, right? Landlords, all of these things are really are part and parcel of what makes New York expensive. Gas prices, oil prices, and one individual social democrat / liberal is not going to impact that. And again, I guess as I'm talking through this, like I get more and more sort of concerned about the disillusionment of people who think he's a socialist, right? And then see the sort of lack of progress, right? Or the inability to make change, and then sort of, losing hope or becoming cynical or jaded, right? So that to me is what I'm thinking about. And I don't, there's so many like organizers and activists and, people in union members and all that in New York who can, speak on the material conditions there better than I, and how it is that they plan to capitalize on that moment, or they plan, what it is that they see as possible. So I don't know.
It's a lot to think about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this to be a tranquilizing drug to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mollification, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly the mindset I had, and the reason why I do want to show grace to these people, because it's not like they voted for Jim Crow jail. You guys saw during the Jim, I had no grace towards people voting for war criminals. But if you just vote for a mayor who I think is goofy, like, he's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. I think he's goofy. I don't think he's gonna do anything. He even talked about investing into fighting anti-Semitism, investing in the hate crimes. And once again, I can do a whole live stream about the reason why I don't trust this motherfucker. But at the end of the day, I know people are desperate, and what I want to do is I think it's our job to provide an option for people and give them a revolutionary option, which is why I will be organized with our brother Rome, Fred Hampton Jr. Like, it's our job to be out there and give people those alternatives, providing mutual aid to people. So I can't just, and this, I guess I'm becoming more mature, but I can't just sit back here and just yell at people. Like, it's about what we're gonna do as well. So I'm gonna be honest how I feel when I'm gonna do this panel with Savvy tomorrow. We see how that goes. Apparently, Savvy like doing these debate panels. But I'll like do what you want to do. I'm like, until I see this guy show up at RBN Mutual Aid, for example, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we held anti-genocide rallies. I gave speeches at for Marshall for Healthcare, Medica for All, and these Bernie, AOC, Social Democrat types, they're nowhere to be found. Like, Zohran and his people, will they share our mutual aid event that we have with the chairman? next month? He won't. Will Bernie, will any of these politicians show up to any of our mutual aid events? They won't. So why are we running and rushing to show up to their shit? Let them show up first. You know what I mean? That's my mentality. That's why I was with Jill Stein, because they showed up to RBN first. They supported our mutual aid first. They gave me a speaker slot first. Let them show up to us. Let them show they serious about forming a coalition with us. Why are we running towards the politicians? You know what I mean? And if Zohran show up at our RBN mutual aid, I'm like, God damn, I gotta rethink. Maybe he's legit. But if he's not doing that, why the fuck should we care? But maybe you're in New York and Zohran did help your organization. Then maybe you should support him. That's my mindset. I have no reason to care about that, but I guess I went on another rant. I'm sorry, guys. Dr. CBS, where can they find you? Any books coming out? I'll give you the last word. We can continue this all day if I let it. Go ahead.
So we have a podcast, myself and my dear friend Layla Brown, called Life Study Revolution. It's every other Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So this Thursday we'll have a show. And just, believe your own analysis, be mindful, be careful, be as discerning as you can, continue to show up, consume this type of media to help to provide a counter narrative to what we're saturated with in the mainstream media. And, none of us have the answers. If we did, we would not be in this situation. And so we really just need to be sober and serious in our analysis and, be careful, be mindful. So that's it. And, hopefully you guys will have me back. It's awesome. Oh, please provide the link to that channel. I don't think I can drop anything in the chat. Let me see if I
can. Zoya, let's make sure we get the link in the description as well.
Yeah. It's on Black Liberation Media.
Yeah, for sure. It's always great having you on, Dr. CBS. We definitely will have you back. We consider you a friend of RBN. So make sure you guys check out Dr. CBS. Always great to have your analysis on the channel. And make sure you guys check out her podcast as well. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourself. Much love, family.
Bye, y'all.